Hi, I'm Carrie, and I'm one of the dietitians with the Edge Lab. And today I'm going to present some tips from people who have lost weight and kept it off for over 10 years. One of the most important things in this maintenance phase is that we want you to continue to do some of the key concepts that we reviewed with you throughout the weight loss phase. And so these tips that we've compiled are actually taken from the National Weight Control Registry, which has over 10,000 Americans throughout the United States who have maintained a 30-pound weight loss for a year or longer. So these are some of their tips. The goal is to make the transition from dieting, which you did before your surgery, to maintenance seamless. Number one tip that these people have done is that they kept their eating habits consistent, meaning they didn't eat necessarily the same thing every day, but they ate approximate portion sizes the same, as well as times of day. So they just kept their consistent habits throughout this process. Second tip is that they stayed really active. They turned off their TV. They didn't sit in front of the computer, which we're asking you to do right now. They were constantly moving. And it could even just be walking around the house or doing things in their yard, but they constantly tried to keep active and moving. Third is keeping track of their progress and staying positive. So I know with this LST app that it can be cumbersome at times, just tracking your food, tracking your weight, tracking your steps. But there's research that supports that people who actually track and write down what they've eaten or how much exercise they've done, they actually are more successful in keeping the weight off. And these people also did that. So it's good to continue to do this. Fourth tip is they found support with friends or their gym buddies, or even just using a fitness tracking app. This supported their efforts. We know it's difficult, say, for example, that you always went on a Friday night to happy hour with someone. It's hard when that person wants you to continue an old habit. So we're encouraging you to find people, or maybe talk to that same person and say, hey, instead of this, let's go for a walk. So again, finding support from others who are wanting to get healthy and stay healthy. And then finally, these 10,000 people continued to make sure that they took care of themselves and tried to get plenty of rest, even if it was a nap, if they didn't sleep well at night. But making sure that you get plenty of rest will ensure that you won't either eat because you're tired, or just not being active because you're exhausted. So sleep is critical for all of us. So again, these are just some of the tips we want you to keep remembering from others as you make this transition from weight loss to weight maintenance for the rest of your life.
So today we're going to be talking about vegging out. So why are fruits and vegetables important? They contribute to overall health. They are low in energy density or calories, really high in nutrients, and these nutrients may help prevent cancer. So the objectives of today's curriculum, we're going to describe and limit energy-dense foods, identify foods that contain phytochemicals, and help choose your produce. So why are fruits and vegetables important? Fruits and vegetable consumption is one of the most important aspects of a healthy diet, but most Americans don't get enough. Why is this important? Well, energy density is something that we talk about often. Energy is expressed as calories. Some foods pack in a lot of calories for a small amount of food, These are high energy dense foods, and they include chips, candy, pizza, things like that. But low energy density foods like fruits and vegetables, you can eat a lot of and get the same amount of calories. Why do we care about this? So fruits and vegetables have a lot of nutrients, phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals. So as you can see here, high calorie food and drink are suspected risk factors for cancer due to contribution to weight gain, whereas fruits and vegetables are packed full of nutrients that may actually help prevent cancer. Low energy dense foods are high in water and fiber. So what is fiber? Fiber is found in plant foods and is not digested, so there's no energy, there's no calories that we get from it. We aim to get at least 25 grams per day. The health benefits of fiber are that it lowers cholesterol, helps you feel more full, and promotes healthy bowel function. Fiber can help with things like constipation. It adds bulk to your stool, which promotes those healthy bowel movements, and it feeds our gut bacteria. That helps us stay healthy. It also lowers cholesterol by binding to cholesterol in the GI tract so we don't absorb it. When you do increase fiber, it is important to do it slowly and to make sure you drink plenty of water. So let's talk volumetrics. In all the following pictures, we're going to compare high energy dense foods to low energy dense foods to show you how much more you can get when you choose low energy dense foods. So here you see 3 cups of a mixed green salad with 1 tablespoon of balsamic dressing. This has 35 calories and 1 gram of fat. The French fry and a half with the ketchup, it's a teaspoon of ketchup, far less than most people eat of either, has the equivalent. It has 3 grams of fat and 35 calories and 1 gram of fat. Here we're going to look at 6 ounces of non-fat Greek yogurt with a 1/2 cup of berries. This has 160 calories with no fat. Next to it, you see the smaller dish. It's a 1/2 cup of vanilla ice cream with a 1/2 cup of berries. This has the same amount of calories, 160, but it has 7 to 8 grams of fat compared to the no fat that's in the yogurt. So you can see if you have a sweet tooth, this Greek yogurt would be a much better option. Here we're looking at a 1/2 cup of grapes. It has 51 calories. So do the raisins, but the raisins have a lot more in terms of sugar. Next, we're looking at 3 cups of air pop popcorn. It has 92 calories and 1 gram of fat. This little portion of potato chips has 92 calories and 6 grams of fat. So same calories, but 6 times the amount of fat. Here we're looking at 1 cup of raw baby carrots, has 50 calories. So do the 6 wheat thins. So this kind of snack, you can get that crunch, that really satisfying crunch that you would get with crackers or chips, but you can choose something that's full of nutrients and you get a lot more. So tips for choosing low energy dense foods. You want to limit processed foods. They tend to have a lot more calories. We like to recommend that people eat whole, real foods that you can hold in your hand and name, such as a piece of broccoli or an apple. You want to make sure you look at the food label if you do eat processed foods, so you know how many calories, how many grams of fat, how many carbs you're getting before you do eat that food or make that choice. You also don't want to drink your calories. A lot of beverages like soda and sweetened tea or lemonade, they have so much sugar or carbohydrate in them that they're very high in calories and they're not very satisfying. You also want to make sure or try to make half of your plate vegetables. I always like to recommend for people to start with the vegetables and then work their way around the plate from vegetables to protein to any sort of type of starchy carb. So you fill up more on the vegetables and then get protein before you go to those energy dense, starchy, like potatoes. So next objective, we're going to talk about identifying foods with phytochemicals. So what are phytochemicals? Phytochemicals are substances found in fruits and vegetables that are not essential to living but have healthy benefits. They act as antioxidants. So you've probably heard that word. There are free radicals that go around your body and damage tissue. And we think that these free radicals are cancer causing. Antioxidants are things in your body that can go and stop those free radicals from causing problems. Phytochemicals also help fight inflammation and boost your immune system. There are health benefits to phytochemicals. Most people don't know what those are, but we're going to cover some of those. So our first phytonutrient that we're going to talk about is lycopene. You may have heard of lycopene. It's kind of gotten the spotlight lately. It's found in tomatoes, grapefruits, and apricots. It's an antioxidant that may decrease cancer risk and stop cancer cells from dividing. A tip for eating lycopene is to eat it with a little bit of fat. It just helps the body to absorb it. The next phytonutrient, we're going to look at two of them. They're kind of a mouthful, but sulforaphane and indole-3 carbinol. They help eliminate toxins and carcinogens or cancer-causing molecules, and they're found in our cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts, and asparagus. So lastly, today we're going to help choose your produce. So just some basic guidelines. The goal is to have a minimum of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. So what is a serving? For vegetables, 1 cup of raw vegetables is considered a serving. 1/2 cup of cooked vegetables is a serving, or 3 cups of leafy greens. For fruits, because they have more sugar, they're a little smaller, but 1 cup of sliced fruit or 1 medium piece, both of those constitute a serving. And again, the goal is to make half your plate fruit and non-starchy vegetables. So what do we mean by starchy? So things that you want to try and limit just because they have more calories are beans, corn, winter squash, peas, and potatoes. They should be limited to 1/2 cup and count as your starch for the meal. They do not contribute to the 1/2 plate of vegetables that we're talking about. Low starch vegetables, on the other hand, are low in energy or calories. So examples are leafy greens, spinach, broccoli, carrots, radishes, onions, and other cruciferous vegetables that we talked about like kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. So when you're storing your produce, always store it separately from raw meat, poultry, fish, and eggs to prevent contamination and the spread of bacteria. And it's also important to wash your vegetables or your fruits right before you eat them, because once you get them wet, they're more likely to spoil. However, if you are a person that knows that you won't eat them unless they're readily available to just grab and go ahead and wash them ahead of time. Store vegetables separate from fruit in order to prevent contamination of flavor. No one wants an apple that tastes like an onion, or an onion that tastes like an apple or a banana. This helps prevent spoilage because different produce items produce what's called ethylene gas, and that speeds up the ripening process, so they won't last as long. Some produce should never be stored in the refrigerator, while others should be placed on the counter. Or should be refrigerated and vice versa. So we have a handout for this, so you can refer to the handout for guidance on what can be in the fridge versus counter and vice versa. So when preparing your produce, always wash your fruits and vegetables. We do this to remove any sort of bugs or pesticides, dirt, germs, any sort of contaminants. Many vegetables are best eaten raw, because the cooking process can destroy some of the nutrients. This isn't always an option for some people, but just like to mention it. And preferred cooking methods for vegetables are steaming, roasting, or a healthy saute with some extra virgin olive oil. We don't encourage frying. It adds a lot of calories, and at that high of a heat can destroy some of the nutrients. So just some basic tips for increasing fruits and vegetable intake. Make fruit your dessert. If you have a sweet tooth, a bowl of pineapple and strawberries and some really good berries are going to provide a lot of those phytochemicals and vitamins without all the extra calories and things that come with the processing of other types of desserts. You can cut up some raw veggies for a quick snack on the go, and make extra veggies when you're cooking and store them in the fridge, and then you don't have to go through the process of cooking them when you just want a little snack. Hide your veggies in your food. If you're not a person that likes to eat vegetables, say, for breakfast, but you still want to get all those nutrients, vitamins, and minerals into your breakfast, fold them into an omelet, or make a little saute with peppers and onions, and eat them with your breakfast protein. And lastly, choose veggies over chips for dipping. You see a lot of veggie plates at parties and social events, and I see a lot of people go for dipping a piece of broccoli in, a Greek yogurt-based ranch or something like that. And so, although we wouldn't necessarily tend to make these decisions at home, when it's right in front of us, we tend to go for those things. So, just making sure that when you're at home, you have the mindfulness to think, oh man, I should try and dip some celery. That's a really low density food into my dip instead of a really greasy and deep fried potato chip. So the key messages from today is we want to aim for 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. And fruits and vegetables give you more bang for your buck. We talked about volumetrics and energy density. These foods, as you saw in the pictures, you can eat a whole lot more of these foods than you can some of the other options, and get the same amount of calories, less fat, more nutrients. It's kind of a win-win-win situation. And especially if you're trying to restrict energy intake or just maintain your weight, you can feel full all day long without getting all those calories. So thank you so much.
All right. So I'm Jessica. I'm back to talk about volumetrics. What we mean by volumetrics is we're going to look at a couple different kinds of food that have the same amount of calories, but have different amounts. So first we'll start with some pastries. So as you can see here, we have a bear claw and we have this glazed apple pie. Now each of these have a similar amount of calories, around 450 calories. Now a lot of people do convenience foods in the morning, but they don't keep you very full. You get a lot of sugar, you might have a mid-morning crash, and as you can see, these aren't very big. So now let's look at some other items that have the same amount. So this is a dish that we prepared, and as you can see, it's a lot more food. We have 2 scrambled eggs, just regular grocery store large eggs, and then we have all these wonderful vegetables. We have mushrooms, green peppers, zucchini, and tomato, all sauteed in just a tablespoon of olive oil. And as you can see, this alone would keep you pretty full. But for those of you who do like to incorporate some fruit into your breakfast, we also have steel-cut oats with raspberries. So as you can see here, half of the plate is non-starchy vegetables. Then we have a little bit of protein, quarter of the plate, and a quarter of the plate whole grains and fruit. This would keep me really full. Lastly, I just wanted to show you an alternative option for snack food. So this is freshly made kale. We call them kale chips. So what you do is you rinse the kale, make sure to clean it real good, get all that those microorganisms, pesticides, anything like that off, any contaminants, and then pull the leaves away from the stalk. Rinse those again, pat them dry with a couple paper towels. I usually let them dry for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I spread them out on a pan for the oven, and then pour a little bit of olive oil, a little salt, little pepper, and put them in the oven at 250 for about 30 minutes or until they're crispy. Now you may want to pull them out halfway through and kind of turn them and kind of test them to see if they're getting crunchy. Everyone's oven's a little different. But this is a great way to incorporate dark leafy green vegetables, but still get that really satisfying crunch. And it's really easy to throw these into a little baggie or a little Tupperware and take them to work and pull them out anytime you're feeling that need for a snack or something a little salty or crunchy. So that is all we have for the Veg Out session. So just to go back over this real quick. So volumetrics. There are the same amount of calories in these pastries as there is in this huge plate of really healthy, wonderful food. And again, like I said, we like to eat whole, real foods, things that you hold in your hand and you can name. And yes, we can all say, oh, well, that's a taco. No, what we mean is this is a zucchini, this is an egg, these are raspberries. And you're going to get those really good phytochemicals that help stave off those antioxidants, and eat those cruciferous vegetables like the kale that help you detoxify those carcinogens and those cancer-causing things too. So feel free to contact your health coach for any additional questions. And this week, Veg Out.